Hey, this is a quick video to kind of show some custom V-beads I needed to put in some plywood. Sorry for the posterior shots here. I failed to think about my camera placement ahead of time. But just before COVID hit, I tore a wall or two out in the sunroom to repair some water damage that turned to termite damage and wasn't much fun. But anyway, I'm finally getting back to putting that project together, and unfortunately, the sunroom is this siding is plywood with these, V beads cut into it. I guess looked like a beaded wall. Anyway, the particular spacing from this time period was like the mid 90s when this sunroom was built. The spacing wasn't available at Lowe's anymore, and it was a much denser spacing, and it wasn't even like a factor of 2 where I could have filled in every other bead or something. So basically bought this track saw, and as you can see, it's a little dangerous here with the guard removed because the blade I bought to modify is probably about 5/8 of an inch thick, so it's too thick to put the cover back on. But I had to bore out the backside about 1/10 of an inch deep or so to 20 millimeters, and made a arbor bushing piece to clamp the blade back on. And yeah, wasn't a big fan of standing on the right side of this thing as it was spinning, but it worked out and nothing came loose. So the track saw is a pretty slick piece. I'd never used one before. The track is, I think, 109 inches long, and little side story there. It took Zorro.com 4 attempts to get a good one to me. The first 3 arrived in various pretzel shapes on the truck. And as you can see, it kind of needs to be flat like it was intended to be for this purpose, doing a constant depth, doing these V-beads. Anyway, finally got a good one. And so here I'm just cruising along. I transferred marks from the sections of the original panel that I still had, and trying to mimic, not just the spacing, but the profile and the width of the beads. This cutter I found is a little bit wider. The grooves are making a, more like 7/16 instead of a 3/8 or so wide groove. But hopefully, when it's all painted, hopefully we won't even notice the difference. So kind of slow going here since I can't use the vacuum port since the front cover is off. Had to make a pass, clean everything up again because it was depth dependent. Didn't want chips in the way to mess up the next pass. So yeah, on the last bead had to flip it over and unfortunately stand on the wrong side of things again. And here my dad taught me to always measure twice and cut once. So that's what we were doing. I'd marked it correctly, but I'd gotten on a little spot in the plywood that I thought was my mark. And anyway, measure twice, cut once. So I made this video mainly for my dad, something he can check out and kind of be back in the action. hopefully we get Dad back to health here, and he can join back in the fun with these projects his family comes up with. So there's a piece of the original paneling, trying to slap it on there and line it up. And for the most part, I'm pleased with the grooves, the V beads, whatever you want to call them. They lined up pretty well. Uh, Shaky camera here, but as you can see, not perfect, but hopefully for the purposes of the sunroom, it goes back together and is at least less noticeable than a spacing way off, like I could have gotten at Lowe's. So anyway, thanks.